In 1781, a 13-year-old boy was dragged from his bed and thrown into prison. His crime? He was a child soldier. He was a rebel spy, a courier, carrying orders and intelligence behind enemy lines. He worked for the American revolutionaries, and what happened next would have been enough to put off most men for life. He was beaten, imprisoned, and nearly starved to death. They put him in a prison camp with only rats, grown men, and disease for company. That boy's name was Andrew Jackson. Yet the craziest thing about his story is not what happened in the prison. It's what he did after escaping. This is the story of how a traumatized teenager lived one of the strangest lives ever. From self-made lawyer to ruthless general to populist president. There's a reason he's one of the most controversial figures in American history. Because while most kids were learning how to read, Andrew Jackson was learning how to survive. Before the revolution, before the prison camp, before the presidency, Andrew Jackson was just a boy born into hardship. He entered the world on March 15th, 1767 in the Waxhaws region, a wild and disputed borderland between North and South Carolina. His parents were Scots-Irish immigrants, poor farmers scraping by on untamed land. His father, his namesake, died in a logging accident before he was even born. Andrew Sr. had been in the colonies for less than 2 years, but he'd already started trying to build a future for his growing family.
I heard the story about 1,000,000 times. No one saw it coming. That's how it always happens. A wagon shifts, a log comes loose. Maybe it was stacked too high. Maybe the ground was wet and soft from the recent thaw. In a split second, a thick timber rolled down, fast and silently. It crashed onto my father with the weight of a falling house. His ribs snapped. He tried to stand, but he couldn't. They said he was still breathing when they loaded him into the wagon. Barely. He made it back to the cabin, blood soaking through his shirt. My pregnant mother and 2 brothers watched as he died in front of them, and there was nothing they could do. 3 weeks later, she gave birth to me.
Andrew Jackson Sr. never got the chance to meet his youngest son. He left behind no estate, no safety net, just a grieving wife and 3 fatherless boys. And that story? It isn't just history. It's still happening today. If something happened to you tomorrow, would your family know what to do? Would they be protected? Or would they be left scrambling? Just like Elizabeth Jackson was? That's why we've partnered with Final Expense Strategic Planning, a service dedicated to helping families prepare for the one thing none of us can escape: the end. They'll help you set up a plan that covers burial costs, debts, and financial protections, so your loved ones don't have to carry your burden while they're carrying their grief. Because legacy isn't just about what you do in life, it's about what you leave behind. Click the link in the description to learn more. Protect your future so your family can focus on what matters. Don't leave it to chance. For young Andrew, that loss is more than a story. It's the starting point of everything that came after. Andrew Jackson never knew his father. His mother, Elizabeth, was left to raise 3 sons alone in a region on the brink of war. They weren't wealthy. They weren't powerful. They didn't own slaves, land, or much else. But Elizabeth was determined to give her boys a fighting chance. Her youngest, Andrew, showed telltale signs he was raised by a single mother. He was reckless, defiant, and had a fire in him that couldn't be tamed. Some said he was born angry. Others said he was born to lead. When he wasn't riding horses, picking fights, or studying, he was dreaming of battle, because war was coming. And when it arrived, young Andrew Jackson didn't run from it. He ran to it. What happened next would scar him forever. It shaped the man who would become America's most unpredictable president. In the years before the war, the Waxhaws region was already a powder keg. There was no real border, just thick forests, muddy roads, and rival claims. North Carolina said it was theirs. South Carolina said the same. And somewhere in that no man's land lived the Jacksons. But the border wasn't the only thing in dispute. Across the colonies, tensions were boiling. British taxes, trade restrictions, and military presence were tightening like a noose. And the people, many of them poor, landless, and fed up, were ready to fight back. By the time he was 8, war had officially broken out. The American Revolution had begun. But in the South, it wasn't redcoats versus patriots. It was neighbor against neighbor, brother against brother. Loyalists, colonists who supported the British Crown, clashed with patriots who wanted independence. Homes were burned, families were torn apart. And in the backcountry, the fighting was personal. It was a civil war, brutal, bloody, and close to home. Elizabeth kept her sons home and safe for a good 4 years, but she couldn't shield them forever. Her oldest son, Hugh, joined the local patriot militias and went off to fight with the rebels. Robert, 16, and Andrew, barely 13, served as couriers. They carried messages for rebel commanders through dangerous terrain, crawling with redcoats and loyalist raiders. It was risky and it was deadly, but Andrew wanted in, and war would give him more than he bargained for.
Sealed letters, scribbled battle plans, names of spies. They hide them in my boots and in my coat lining, sometimes under my tongue. My older brother Robert is riding with me. He keeps glancing over his shoulder like someone's following us. He's probably right. The British are everywhere. Redcoats, loyalists, bounty hunters. Some are just neighbors who switch sides. Doesn't matter. If they catch us, we're not prisoners. We're traitors. So we don't ride on roads. We stick to creek beds, cut through thickets, and duck beneath low branches. The horse breathes hard beneath me. So do I. It's hot and I haven't eaten all day. My hands are blistered from the rains. I can still taste the smoke from the farm that was burning this morning. But I keep going. I don't stop. Because I've already lost my father. And my older brother Hugh died after his first battle. My mother tries to keep us safe, but she can't stop this. No one can. I didn't choose the child soldier life. The child soldier life chose me.
Less than a year later, it all went wrong. British troops stormed into the Waxhaws. Jackson and his brother were captured from their own home. The punishment is imprisonment, starvation, and disease. And a moment that would leave a permanent mark, physically and psychologically. Captured, exhausted, and starving, Andrew and his brother Robert were thrown into a British prison camp, the Camden Jail, a makeshift hellhole for rebels. They were just teenagers. Conditions were nightmarish. There were no beds, no blankets, and no medicine. The food, if you could call it that, was moldy bread and filthy water. Disease ran rampant. Infections, dysentery, and smallpox. Every day they watched other prisoners, grown men, collapse, cry, or disappear, dragged out and never seen again. Yet this did nothing to deter them. The Jackson boys longed for the excitement of war. Legend has it they carved a hole in the wooden wall of their cell, just so they could watch the Battle of Hobkirk Hill. But what happens next will test more than Jackson's strength. It'll test his soul.
The British officer looks me up and down like I'm filth. Then he points to his boots. Shine them, he says. I don't move. I'm a prisoner of war, not a servant. I'm not his boy, not anyone's for that matter. I look him straight in the eye and say it out loud. I'm not your slave. I won't do it. He doesn't say a word, just lifts his sword. Quick, like a reflex, and slashes it across my face. The blade burns as it tears into my skin, from the corner of my forehead down to my jaw. I feel another slice across my hand as I throw my arm up, too late to block it. Blood runs into my mouth. I don't cry or even fall. I stare at him through the pain without blinking. He wants me to break, but I won't give him the satisfaction. That scar never goes away. Not the one on my face, and not the one in my memory.
Meanwhile, his brother Robert grew weaker by the day. Both boys had contracted smallpox. Without medicine, Robert wouldn't survive the week. Elizabeth Jackson knew her boys had been taken, and she knew what British prison camps were like. Most who went in didn't come out, but she had a plan. with no political power, no wealth, and no men left to fight for her. The only thing this widowed mother had was her reputation. While the war raged, Elizabeth Warren helped injured soldiers, hid rebel scouts, and nursed the sick. She was trusted and respected, in the eyes of some British officers, maybe even useful. So she did what few women would dare to do in 1781. She rode 40 miles into Camden. Alone. The town was under British control. Soldiers patrolled the streets. Prisoners were packed into a crude wooden stockade, rotting from the inside out. Elizabeth met with the prison commander, Lord Rawdon. Maybe it's pity, or maybe the Redcoats saw no value in holding two half-dead boys. But she walked out of Camden with her sons, both of them barely alive. But the trouble wasn't over yet. The journey home was brutal. The path was long, and the roads were dilapidated from the war effort. With only 2 horses and Robert too weak to walk, Andrew was forced to journey home on foot, barefoot for 40 miles. Andrew was delirious with fever, and Robert had lost the ability to speak. With both boys clinging to life, they made it back to the Waxhaws. Tragically, 2 days later, Robert would succumb to his illness. Elizabeth buried her second son, and the third, young Andrew, watched as another piece of his family disappeared. He had entered that prison as a fiery boy. He came out a wounded survivor, angry, hardened, and now, by the time Andrew Jackson was 14, he had lost nearly everything. His father, dead before he was born. His brother Hugh, killed from heat exhaustion after the Battle of Stono Ferry. His brother Robert died from smallpox and prison camp neglect. And his mother, the only person left, was about to vanish too. Elizabeth Jackson had risked everything to save her sons. They say the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Now we know where Andrew got his veracity from. After losing Robert, she nursed Andrew back to health just long enough for him to be able to walk on his own. After those few short weeks, she left for Charleston Harbor. There, she volunteered as an American nurse on British prison ships. Conditions on those ships were worse than anything on land. Rotting wood, no ventilation, no clean water. Prisoners packed in like cargo, chained in their own filth, sick with dysentery, typhus, and cholera. The air was so foul the British guards wouldn't even go below deck. But Elizabeth Jackson did. She had no protection and no medical training. All she had was a mother's will, and it cost her everything. While tending to the sick, Elizabeth contracted cholera or possibly ship fever. She died alone. Her body was buried in an unmarked grave somewhere near Charleston. Yet again, Andrew didn't get to say goodbye. He never found her grave, never forgave the war for taking her. So by 14, Andrew Jackson was truly alone. An orphan. No parents, no siblings, no home, and no money. Just grief and grit. But where most people break, Andrew Jackson didn't. He turned pain into fuel and used loss as armor. He was reckless, yes. Prone to rage, absolutely. But he had something most men didn't. An unshakable will. He bounced around from house to house, living with odd and distant relatives. The war raged on, but Andrew found other ways to keep himself busy. He worked odd jobs until he could reach his new dream of becoming a lawyer. In horse racing, school teaching, tending stores, making and fixing saddles. He gambled, fought, rode fast horses, and made faster enemies. A jack of all trades. Eventually, he became a law clerk. He would hand copy documents just to be near the courts. He borrowed law books when he could and taught himself in the dark hours of the night. Just 6 years after the prison camp, as the war came to an end, Andrew had passed the bar. He was a licensed attorney at just 20 years old. Slowly, with the volatile mix of charm, grit, and raw aggression, he began to rise. First to lawyer and then to judge. And though he loved it, it didn't quite satisfy him. He rejoined the militia as a general, possibly the greatest general to ever lead. And lead he did. His brave, brash, and unwavering leadership carried him all the way to the top. All the way to President of the United States of America. Next up, I'll be with George Washington himself. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out. These are the lives before the legacies.